One of my personal commitments that I have made about this election cycle is that I want to do it with my sense of my own humanity intact. Don't ask me how it's going. In this election cycle that feels like a bid for our attention, I feel like I have turned into the Ebenezer Scrooge of electoral politics. Don't talk to me about it. Bah, humbug. Don't text me about it. I'll reply, stop, in all caps. Don't call me about it. I will reject your call. And most of all, please stop mailing me about it. Yesterday, I went to the mailbox and I saw that we had the newspaper, because it comes in the mail now for reasons, and a letter. And I thought, I saw the long white letter envelope and I didn't get my hopes up. I thought, you know what, it's a credit card offer. I'm not gonna get excited. And then I glanced at the envelope and saw that it had, in beautiful cursive penmanship, clearly hand-lettered my name and my address. And then I looked at the return address and saw that there was no name. And then I turned it over and it had a really cute vote sticker on it. It was a beautiful, thoughtful, handwritten letter urging me to vote and remembering the power of my electoral prowess in this election. Bah, humbug, I thought. And then I realized that perhaps I was not surviving with my humanity intact, and this wonderful, beautiful, heartfelt letter that someone had taken the time to handwrite to me. If this election cycle is a battle for our attention, I'm not sure who is winning it, but I feel like I'm losing it. And really, I would say this is particular here. If you have never lived anywhere but this very swingy state, I'm here to tell you that having your vote count in federal elections is not all it has cracked up to be. I often miss the days that we lived in Wyoming. We lived in Wyoming during the 2020 presidential election, and nobody cared about my vote in that election. Nobody texted me. Nobody called me. Nobody mailed me anything. Ignorance is bliss. But the truth is that for those of us who have the strange privilege of casting ballots that could decide this presidential election, is that we and our attention are very, very valuable. Millions and millions and millions of dollars. Some from within our state, but many from outside of it, maybe even most from outside of it, are pouring into our borders, funding all of those texts and calls and mailers that you receive. Our eyeballs, our ears are very, very valuable, because we are living in what has been called the attention economy, which was a term first coined in the 1970s to describe the idea that human attention is a limited, finite resource, and that you can monetize it. Yay. And the truth is that this attention economy existed long before social media, before the internet as we know it today. But it has taken on a new form, a different way in this time. That in previous iteration of the attention economy, we had a unified experience of it, or as unified as human beings are capable of being. Right? That you opened the newspaper and everybody saw the same ads. You listened to the handful of radio stations, or you watched the evening network news. We all had a shared experience. Those same ads played in everyone's home, were in everyone's magazines. There was as Mike points out from his career in sales and marketing, right, there were human beings on the other ends of those ads, making decisions, sometimes fueled by their sense of human flourishing, and sometimes fueled by profit, and most of the time fueled by both. Making decisions about this sort of content we should see, about what we should give our attention to. But that unified experience is no longer the case. Each of us has some lines of code that live on the internet somewhere called the algorithm. That was an excellent theatrical gasp, whoever did that. Thank you. The algorithm decides what sorts of ads are good for you, what sorts of things you're likely to watch, and the more you interact with it, for good or ill, right? Even if you just rage watch the advertisements that you get, you'll get more of them because you're interacting with it. You've given it your attention. And that it's fractured us because we're not all seeing the same media. We're not all having the same experience of it. The things that the YouTube ads that I get and the YouTube ads that you get, when I'm just trying to watch, I don't know, like a cat video or something, but first I have to listen to like, they've defunded the police and now it's all over. And so this information we are increasingly inundated with is divorced from its context, it's divorced from human interaction, though, right, the algorithm is initially coded by human beings, but at every step of the way, every interaction, it is less and less part of a person-to-person moment and more part of some sort of depersonalized attention machine that we're all trapped inside of because we wanted to Google something. These bids for our attention feel inhumane. But the reality is that we do live in a human world, surrounded by human beings. And when we lose sight of that, when we lose sight of our interdependence, our interconnectedness, our interrelatedness, that when we lose sight of that, we begin to lose our grasp on our own humanity. It's what Mike talked about, that our ability to perceive and know the truth of the dignity and inherent worth of all people is directly related to our ability to feel our own worth and dignity. Now, this feels like the moment that it's important to give a broad context setter for this truth about how my ability to perceive all people's dignity is wrapped up with my ability to feel and know my own, which is that I think that sometimes that message of, we need to listen to each other, like all people have dignity, that message is sometimes paired with a sense of, you worry too much, or like your election anxiety is just because you're worried. It doesn't really matter who's president. And here's what I'm going to say. It is not possible to be too worried about the rising creep of fascism. That's not a thing you can get too worried about. It's normal to worry. That's a normal response. In fact, it's the healthy response to, white Christian nationalism and the ways that it exists in our country today. You should be worried. It's very worrisome. But that doesn't mean that you should feel dragged into an anxiety spiral about it. Because the really unfortunate truth that I am having trouble coming to grips with is that doom scrolling and anxiety spiraling will also not do anything to end fascism. I know. I was mad when I thought of it too. No amount of rage-watching content or reading terrible news coverage of things, no amount of that will in fact end fascism. What? But the worry is understandable. There is a concept in neuropsychology that's called perceptual crossing, which sounds, you're like, this could be like a normal brain science thing that you're about to tell us, or you could be about to like take us into the land of woo. Perceptual crossing is mostly in the land of regular neuroscience, just like a splash of woo. So perceptual crossing is the phenomenon that happens in our brains and in our bodies when we have interactions that force us to perceive other people while ourselves being perceived, right? Which seems so simple, but it's real, right? That the interaction you have when you receive content online is not a perceptual crossing between you and the other person. You don't have to perceive a human being anywhere at all in order to consume that content. Even if there's people in the ads, you don't have to really perceive them, and they don't really have to perceive you. But when you go do something like shake someone's hand, there's a lot of mutual perception there. You're considering all of the ways that you are being perceived. Is my hand sweaty? Should I go in straight? Do I go like this? Do I go like this? What are we high? Are we low? How long? And at the same time, you are perceiving the other person. You're taking in all the cues that they are giving you. You cannot, one person alone cannot do a handshake. That's not how it works. The same thing is true of, thank you to those of you who are just like, I will prove you wrong. I'll shake my own hand in this audience. I love Unitarian Universalists. But it's like choral singing. You have to pay attention to what the other people are doing. You have to perceive them and move in response to them. Right? In the song the choir sang, every act of love is a pathway into one another's lives. Every act of love is essential to build a world that survives. And so my invitation for us in this moment is, how can we commit to being in more spaces of perceptual crossing? And by this, I mean, I don't mean that, like, sometimes I say things and people always ask me, are you saying that I have to be friends with Trump voters? Like, no, that's not what I'm telling you. Right? I don't think that, right, engaging in more handshakes with people who wish that I didn't exist is gonna turn this ship around. But as Mike said, right, but that you don't have to give up your commitment to the truth that all people have inherent dignity, even as you are committed to your values, right? Meaning that you have to find a way, we have to, you all, I'm gonna go munch bonbons while you do it, that's my, we have to find a way to apply that deep truth of human interdependence to a world where we act for our values. And Mike's pause that refreshes is one of those things. There are ways, methods, we can use to bring more of that perceptual crossing to this world we are inhabiting, this attention economy, these constant demands. And right, there's a reason that that handwritten letter was a piece of election mail that made me stop. I actually read it. Most of them don't even make it in the house. Because that's the truth, is that when someone takes time to show you that there is a real, live human being on the other end of the postcard, that is a perceptual crossing, even just a little bit. And you can engage in perceptual crossing by writing Get Out the Vote postcards in the fellowship hall after service. And see, now you're like, it's not just writing postcards, you're engaging in perceptual crossing. But we have to. We have to find ways that our humanity and others' humanity can be fully seen, fully perceived. There's no silver bullet that you're like, this is the moment where she reveals the silver bullet that will solve all of my election anxiety. No. But I issue you an invitation to pause, to find some interdependence, to take a breath in for 4, hold for 4, out for 4, hold for 4. And in that space, recover some sense of your own humanity. And we will make it together to the other side. May it be so. Amen.